listening to the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast, a podcast in sisterhood for female entrepreneurs that serves up savvy, actionable marketing advice and interviews with creative business owners who are in the trenches, building their businesses as we speak. The Marketing in Yoga Pants community is for you, the girl on her couch, in her yoga pants, top knot tight, hunched over her MacBook, trying her hardest to get the word out about her business. So in the name of supporting each other while supporting ourselves, bringing community, sound marketing advice, coffee, chocolate, and wine together for you, yoga pants wearing business owner, in a world where followers mean nothing, but paying customers mean the world, join us on this week's podcast episode and in our private Facebook group where you'll meet your soul sisters and build your business in yoga pants. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. I'm Brit, and I'm here today with Annette Stepanian, your legal BFF at AnnetteStepanian.com, and the host of the Office Talk podcast. Thanks for joining me today, Annette.
Thank you so much for having me. I always love chatting all things marketing, business, and law. So let's dive into it.
Yeah, let's do this. So I first found Annette through her podcast, of course. I listened to all the podcasts, and I loved what Annette was bringing to the table. Her stuff is all about law and business and these systems that, for me as a creative, I just don't know a whole lot about. So I felt like, man, Annette is just saying all of this stuff and it's making sense for once. And so I'm really pumped to get to chat with her today, get some insight into her business, her industry, her marketing strategy, and what makes it all tick. So Annette, are you ready to jump in?
I am ready, and thank you for that lovely intro and that lovely compliment.
Absolutely. Okay, let's do this. So first of all, Annette, tell me about how you earn your living.
So the way I like to think of my business is part law firm, where I work one-on-one with clients, whether it's contract drafting, legal consulting, filing trademarks, right? So people come to me with some sort of legal issue and I work through it with them one-on-one. But the second part of my business is what I consider like an educational component to my business. And so that's where I do the podcast, I do webinars, I do online trainings and courses and things of that nature, where I'm trying to really give folks the tools and the education they need and the access to legal resources that they need so that they can start and grow their businesses in a legal way.
Okay, awesome. So being that all this legal stuff is your jam, tell me the story.
Yeah.
Tell me the story of how you came to do this with your life.
How much time do we have, girl?
I mean, I've got all the time in the world, but give us the juicy parts.
Yeah. So basically, let's rewind. Gosh, let's see. What year are we on? We're about 5 or 6 years ago. I was working at a law firm here in San Francisco. It was the traditional, national law firm, kind of the dream job for most law students when they graduate law school. And I was about 5 or 6 years in and I was completely miserable. I just looked at my future and I was like, I don't want to be a partner at a law firm. It just didn't feel like it was going to fit it wasn't going to fit in the way I imagined both my personal and my professional life, right? I just felt like there was too many compromises on my personal life in order to be a partner. And so I thought, well, why am I here? Because the end goal is you got to be a partner at a firm, or else, there isn't really, once you get senior to a certain level, there really isn't anywhere for you to go. Mm-hmm. So over time, I was like, okay, I don't want to be here. What am I going to do? And I basically, I remember February 14th, one of the partners walked into my office, handed me an envelope. She left the office, I opened it up, and I had gotten a raise, a really nice raise for that year. And my first reaction was to start bawling. I was crying, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is not normal. People don't cry, tears of sadness when they get a raise. And so I just knew I had to make a change. So, fast forward, I decided to quit my job, which was very, very scary because I had no plan, and I'm I'm very type A, so I never quit at anything before, and, always had a plan for everything, and basically quit my job, decided to take some time off. I traveled, came back, realized I wanted to start my own business. I wanted to do something completely different outside of the law. So I decided to start a jewelry company. And let me tell you, Brit, like, I had no business starting a jewelry company. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no contacts in the industry. But what I knew is that I wanted to deliver joy to people. And to me, that was through jewelry. And I have to say, it was an amazing learning experience. It was kind of like getting a real life MBA, because I had to learn how to run a business. And that was really my first introduction for a long time to this creative community that you and I live in and that we serve. And in that process, people were like, hey, your jewelry is great, but I have this legal question. And so I just started seeing a need for folks who are creatives, who are small business owners, to have access to legal education and resources that's accessible, that's practical, that, I hear so many complaints from folks that when they do go to talk to a lawyer, they feel like the lawyer doesn't understand them or what they do. So basically it was an evolution. So that's kind of how it all evolved, is I saw a way for me to combine this legal knowledge and skill set that I had to a community and a group that I was really passionate about supporting and getting behind. So that's kind of how that's I guess like the short story, even though that probably took me like 2-3 minutes to explain, but that's how it all came to be.
Okay. And so take me back when you started to identify, hey, there's a spot here that I could probably add value to. What did you do? What were your first couple of steps to starting your business?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I'm trying to think back. I have to say, it's funny because at the end of my podcast, I always ask, what's the one thing, for sure. And one thing that has come out of it time and time again is that relationships are everything. And so what I did was, in order to start my business, was create those relationships. So I started identifying people who were speaking to or had an audience of people who I knew could benefit from what I was providing, and just started reaching out. And I have to say, a lot of it was done through Facebook groups. It blows my mind nowadays just how much business can be transacted, by building a community or being part of a community on Facebook. So I would say that was probably one of the bigger things I did. I reached out to people. I offered to do joint webinars where I wasn't selling anything, just providing full-on value and content, almost too much content now that I look back, because it was like a lot of information. But that's what I did. I started reaching out and developing relationships. And now that I look back, I still have those relationships, and, we collaborate often. There are people that I reach out to, if I have a question, or we because they're experts in their own area. So that's what I would say. I know it sounds it's not maybe the sexiest thing. It's not like running Facebook ads or whatever. It's really that old school kind of time tested principle that really works, is just cultivating those relationships.
Well, we love that here at Marketing in Yoga Pants, because we talk about that all the time. So if that's not sexy to people, that's probably not our kind of people anyway. So
yeah.
All right. So you start drumming up some relationships and some business. And then where do you take it from there? When did you really start when did you start your business? I'm trying to just get a timeline here.
It was about 3 years ago, 2.5,
Okay.
3 years ago at this point, if I did my math correctly.
Awesome. Okay. So you got your first couple of clients, you're getting some traction. What then did you do to get some more traction and continue to progress your business?
Yeah. So I got on the whole webinar bandwagon. So I saw that it was such a great medium in order for me to connect with and educate my audience. Because one thing that I do, and I would encourage your listeners to think about, is I don't know what kind of fields they're in, what kind of products or services they're selling, but with with what I do, there is a learning curve. People, the number one complaint I hear from people is, I don't know what I don't know. So if you don't know what you don't know when it comes to the law, how can you even anticipate what the issues are and then find the solution, right? So
Right.
for me, I had to find a way in which I could educate them about what the potential, like the landmines and the pitfalls were. So I found that doing that through webinars was very effective for me. And then with webinars, after that, I decided, well, I need to find a way to create consistent and compelling and good content week over week. And that's when I decided to launch the podcast. That was one of the reasons why I launched the podcast. So the idea was that I needed to get out the information in a way that was easy for me and fun for me to deliver. I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
And that spoke to my strengths, but also was a way that people liked to consume the content. And so, webinar, audio, video, things of that nature, I think nowadays people gravitate to those forms of content more than, reading. I feel like nobody reads anything anymore.
I know.
But hopefully you guys are reading your contracts before you sign them. But
Oh, boom.
yeah, boom. People don't read their contracts either. But that's a whole other conversation. But that's what I did next was I started playing around and experimenting with webinars and seeing, what kind of content could I give people to educate them and then highlight the issues for them.
It's so smart. You touched on it, and I've heard you say it before. Your real pain point, not yours, your ideal client's real pain point is that they don't know what they don't know. And so, I see this with many, my clients and people here, the listeners, the people in the Facebook group. They're not sure why people aren't seeing the value in what they do, and it's simply because it's still so misunderstood. There we go. That's the right word. And so you took the bull by the horns and said, hey, I'm going to educate these people about this stuff so then they can make a decision about bringing me onto their team and partnering and getting the value from the services that you provide. So smart. So now, 3 years in, what's working for you to market your business and earn clients?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't really know. I'm just kidding. I'm a big, I like to just experiment. Like if,
Yeah.
I do have a little bit of shiny object syndrome. But I would say, I've experimented a lot, but I think the ones that I hear the most that people appreciate and get a lot of value from are webinars. The podcast, I think,
Mm-hmm.
has been a great format for me, where I can just have a conversation with people. I would say, marketing, those are probably the two biggest vehicles right now. So nothing too groundbreaking there. I've experimented with Facebook ads and video ads. I think those are huge. So if people are comfortable being in front of a video camera and running ads, with a video of them, I think that's a great platform to experiment with. That's kind of I don't have I'm going to be honest. I don't have a huge marketing strategy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of testing. It's a lot of, hey, let's give this a shot. It's a lot of testing and listening and watching and observing and seeing where people are paying attention and trying to kind of to be there. So,
And from my perspective, I think that's where every great strategy starts. So, hey, fist pumping to that. I mean, I can't imagine doing it any other way. And it's encouraging to hear you say the things that you're putting out there, the type of content being webinars and educating through a podcast, just sit really well with you and speak to your strengths. And I see entrepreneurs all the time, writing a blog post because they think they should write a blog post, but not because it really speaks to their strengths, right?
yeah.
So it's so encouraging to hear that you kind of picked through and identified what made the most sense for you.
Yeah, I think it's a balance. You have to know what works well for you and where your strengths are. Some people are great public speakers. I don't know if I'm a great public speaker, but I love being on a stage. I'm very comfortable there, in front of a group of people. I've always been that way, since high school. And some people aren't, but they're really great on camera. Or maybe they're not. Maybe they're really great through the written words. So I think it's one part figuring out where your strengths are, and then the second part, what does your audience like? So, and then trying to, hopefully there's some overlap there.
Amen, sister. Yes.
I was having this conversation with somebody. I was like, you see all these people saying like, take my course and figure out how to kill it on Instagram, or take my course and figure out how to like rock webinars. Right. And I think the tools that they're teaching and the skill sets, or the tools and the methods and practices they're teaching are valuable, but there's a certain X factor that, that comes with a person's personality, and you need to know what that medium is for you. So maybe you're not going to kill it on Instagram because you're not, your personality or your strengths don't fit that platform. So find one where it does. So, so if you're taking these courses and you're like, why can't I kill it on Instagram? It's, well, maybe Instagram's not your thing, which is totally fine. Maybe you can find another platform. So it's a process. It's an evolution.
Absolutely.
Trying to figure it out.
Oh yeah. Okay. So let's shift. And I'm so into talking about the work that you do, because to me, it's still something that I know that I don't know about it. Right. So I would love to know, what are you working on right now? Where's your focus?
So my focus, well, we just moved and renovated a house. So my focus has been on that, but now that we're done or almost done, I'm really excited about next year. I had, if I can't reveal what it is yet, because it's not all figured out. But I'm looking to kind of create more experiences and opportunities where I can work with, people and bring people together. And so I'm excited. I'm like, my eyes are just like so big, and I'm super excited about hopefully having that come to fruition next year. But in terms of this year, I'm as I've gone through, I have all these different services that I offer for people, so if they need a contract, right? If they need trademark filing. So these like kind of like one-off projects, and something that I've been doing but haven't really promoted or marketed is doing these kind of what I call legal 360s, where I can come into somebody's business and do like a full, for lack of a better term, audit. We need to come up with a better word than audit, because audit does not sound fun. But basically just doing a review. And I've gotten a chance to work with some really amazing entrepreneurs, and just going through and making sure that they have all their I's dotted and their T's crossed. And, so that's exciting. So I'm looking forward to doing more of that this year. But, the rest of the stuff, like normal, doing more podcast episodes, working one-on-one with clients, and more trainings and things like that online. That's always in the works.
That's awesome. I think my hand was almost starting to raise as I was listening to you say the Legal 360. I don't know a single creative business owner that doesn't need that. So kudos, hats off to that whole idea.
Yeah.
and when that really starts happening, you let me know.
Okay. I mean, it's happening. It's just, I don't have a landing page for it.
Oh, I got you. Those darn landing pages. I get it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think it's really cool because you can, like, that's what's so fun about what I do is like, I love my clients. Like, they're just amazing. I've been really lucky, knock on wood, like just been able to work with some really amazing, really generous and like kind people who are doing, who are doing what they love, and to be able to be a part of that and play like a very small role in, protecting that is really exciting for me, because at the end of the day, a contract is a contract. It's not super exciting to like sit there and read a contract, but when you're doing it because you're helping somebody, build a business or put food on the table because this is like a primary source of income for them, is really exciting.
Yeah, that lights me up too. Not necessarily the contracts, but working with these people that are just doing the stuff that they love. I sometimes have to pinch myself to think like I get to work with these people every day. Like it's just wow, it's
Yeah.
just mind blowing. All right, so let's do some easy, quick questions. Okay. Uh,
Okay.
First of all, favorite place you've ever traveled to?
Oh, it's kind of cliche, but Paris holds a very special place in my heart. So I love Paris. Just take me there.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Uh,
You've been, right?
no, I haven't. But
Oh,
you're not the first person that has mentioned Paris in season
well,
3. So I'm like, okay, what's the world trying to tell me
I
now?
know. Well, when you're ready to go, let me know because I have a massive document of places that you need to go to and visit and to see.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
I have
I
like
just
a
want to
whole,
eat all the food.
all the food.
That's
Hashtag all the food.
just
Yeah.
all the food.
It's like you eat with your eyes there because everything, like the French are they're so good at the art of presentation. Like
Mm-hmm.
you just walk by like a pastry shop, like nothing fancy, but it's just, they just know how to present things. And so you could just eat with your eyes, I say, because everything is so beautiful.
Oh
Um,
man.
yeah, you
Oh
got to
yeah.
go.
Gotta
Put
get
it on the
there.
calendar, girl. Okay.
Okay. Your favorite way to learn? Do you read? Do you listen? Do you get your hands dirty?
Interesting. I am a visual learner.
Mm-hmm.
And almost like I need to move and like do something physical as well. So like whether it's highlighting or taking notes or like
Mm.
physically moving. So it's a combination of two. That's how I like to learn.
I've never heard it framed that way, but I think I'm in that same boat, that movement. Got to like
Yeah.
underline it or write it or something. There has to, yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
It's kind of crazy. I realized it when I was prepping for exams in law school. And
Mm-hmm.
so in law school, you write these like crazy outlines for each course, right? Like contracts 101, you have like this 30-page outline that goes over all the concepts. And I literally like had to move around my apartment and read the outline for it to like sink in so that I could basically memorize it, right? And I was like,
Yes.
okay, I guess there's this thing with like movement that needs to happen for me. So yeah, I've
Makes a
been
lot
doing
of
it ever
sense.
since. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, right now, if you could choose one thing, what would you love to outsource?
Right now in my business,
Sure.
in my business, I would say if there was a way I could outsource customer or client inquiries, potential client
Mm.
inquiries, that would be great because it takes up a lot of my time.
Yeah, just kind of fielding them and getting and vetting. Is that what you
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, one last question we have to end with. I want you to look back. What advice would you give to yourself when you were first starting your business? That girl on her couch, hunched over her MacBook, trying to figure this out. What would you say to her?
So I have this saying or this, I guess, mantra or something that I repeat to myself is work with what you've got because you've got a lot. I think when
Mm,
at any point in our lives, we always look at like, oh, if I only had this tool, or if I only had help, or if I only had more Instagram followers, or if I only had whatever, fill in the blank.
mm-hmm.
And the reality is like, that's just what I call a sophisticated form of procrastination, which is you're delaying acting because you feel like you're missing something that's essential to making progress. And I would challenge that thinking,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're first starting out, because you say, oh, I don't have a list, or I don't have followers, I don't have a website, I don't have a blog. And I think that those are all just distractions. I think if you could really be clear on what it is you want, like what is your goal, and figure out what's the fastest and easiest way I can get there, you'll realize that you don't need all that stuff. Those are all just nice to have, bells and whistles. And
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to remember that we all have a lot.
Yes.
So you may not have that software that you really want, but we have a lot, just the fact that we have internet and we just the fact that you can listen to this podcast, you have
Right?
a lot, right? And yeah, and I think when we're starting out or when we're running our businesses, it's so easy to fall into that trap, especially the whole comparison stuff. And you just have to cut all of that noise out and focus on what your goal is and figure out how to get there using what you have. So there,
Amen. That is such good advice and
drop the
so
mic.
well said. Yes, dropping it. Okay. Before we go, could you please tell the listeners where they can find you online?
Oh, you can find me at, AnnetteStepanian.com. So that's really long. And if you don't want to spell it out, don't worry. You can also go to yourlegalbff.com. So
That's
both
smart.
of those, yeah, both of those will take you to the same homepage. So that's my website. And then you can also find me just, all over the social media, interwebs. So at Annette Stepanian. So
Perfect. We'll link to
good luck
all of
spelling
that.
that.
Yeah. But it's really fun to say. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah. It's funny because people always are like, when I do interviews, they're like, wait, how do I pronounce it?
I'll definitely, full disclosure, I practiced before we hopped on the podcast. So
You're so cute. From one girl to another with difficult last names,
yes.
like, you know how it goes, right?
Gotta get it right. Oh, yeah. All right. So you heard her, girls. Go check her out, send her some love, and hop into our private Facebook group to hear even more from Annette over the next few days. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. Keep the conversation going by visiting marketingin.yogapants.com/Facebook, where you'll get to join that private Facebook group I've been talking so much about. There, you'll get to chat with our podcast guests. Yeah, they're in there too, and all of the other brilliant creative business owners. We're connecting, we're meeting our soul sisters, and we're building our businesses, all while in yoga pants. So come hang out with us. Again, visit marketingin.yogapants.com/Facebook to get in. And one more thing. If you dig this podcast, would you be awesome and share it with someone? This entire Marketing in Yoga Pants movement is nothing without its community. So please share. And if you're really feeling the love right now, jump into iTunes. You're probably already there if you're listening to this right now. And leave us a rating and review. The more of those we rack up, the more the podcast will be found by ladies like you, and the stronger this community becomes. This episode was edited and produced by the Podcast Engineers. They're pretty great, so go find them at podcastengineers.com. This episode was also brought to you by my online marketing agency, Jam Marketing Group, and you can find us at jammarketinggroup.co. That's all for now. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you back here next week on the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. Love ya. Bye. for joining us on this episode of the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. Keep the conversation going by visiting marketinginyogapants.com/Facebook, where you'll get to join that private Facebook group I've been talking so much about. There, you'll get to chat with our podcast guests, yeah, they're in there too, and all of the other brilliant creative business owners. We're connecting, we're meeting our soul sisters, and we're building our businesses, all while in yoga pants. So come hang out with us. Again, visit marketinginyogapants.com/Facebook to get in. And one more thing. If you dig this podcast, would you be awesome and share it with someone? This entire Marketing in Yoga Pants movement is nothing without its community. So please share. And if you're really feeling the love right now, jump into iTunes. You're probably already there if you're listening to this right now. And leave us a rating and review. The more of those we rack up, the more the podcast will be found by ladies like you, and the stronger this community becomes. This episode was edited and produced by the Podcast Engineers. They're pretty great, so go find them at podcastengineers.com. This episode was also brought to you by my online marketing agency, Jam Marketing Group, and you can find us at jammarketinggroup.co. That's all for now. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you back here next week on the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. Love ya. Bye.